there's a question on the boarding schools of Adivasi children, whether the pandemic offers an opportunity to have a fresh look at this, and we need to discuss if boarding schools should be replaced with day schools, says Shiraz.
I don't know, meaning Shiraz, you are probably one of the better
See,
persons to
COVID is
talk about. Huh? Yeah, Professor. No, Shiraz, people like you would probably be better informed, but we also work with ashram shalas, and we find that while there are a lot of issues in terms of children's, the quality of infrastructure, staying in the schools and having the opportunity for seamless education, school education is possible through these schemes. Rather than advocate only for day schools, one can intervene in running of these schools better, and also have options for day schools. And as far as I know, this option is already available to students who live in the nearby area to be day scholars in ashram shalas.
I think a
But
residential
it's not
school
possible. Yeah.
definitely provided some support, because most of the children do not have any facilities at home. In fact, they don't have sometimes even electricity. So some of the fine students have come from the residential schools. But if you reduce them to day scholars, I think we need to have a strategy as to how to support a day scholar. For example, when he comes school, can we give breakfast to them, lunch? We can give something at 4 o'clock, and the type of facilities have to be such of the nature of the economy. But if one has to talk of the day scholars, yes, I think the strategy has to be a complete strategy. It's not just saying that to be a day scholar, but day scholar needs complete support. Sometimes teacher may have to visit their houses, and you have a different way of negotiating with the type of deprivation and in the poorer localities, the slums of the cities. We have to no public policy is addressing that question. Public policy doesn't address that. So we have to now demand that policy now should start responding. That's how this report becomes very important, that all the marginalized sections are going to be excluded. So the report brings out that what do you do with these sections of the society? And new education policy has no answer to the type of question that the PUCL report raises in its findings.
I'd like to add one or two things. What you said, Seema, that we should have a demand for improving the schools, we have had this demand forever, but this is not happening. Secondly, we have to recognize that many of these schools are also dens of abuse, neglect, and the children are really being scarred at various levels, particularly very small children. So I thought it is a good opportunity to ask for closure, at least of boarding school from 1st to 4th or 1st to 5th. So children below 10 years are not beaten and traumatized by their own parents and kept in these schools. And one of the issues that we can raise is that boarders are privileged, day scholars are actually punished. And this trend should be reversed. And all facilities available to boarders must be provided to the day scholars through DBT. So we can start formulating demands in a different way. But I feel very strongly that particularly the very young children are best with their own parents in their own communities, and not in these boarding schools where they can neither bathe nor feed themselves nor look after themselves. They are constantly having skin diseases and falling sick, and they can't even voice their problems. So this is the reason. And we have to also recognize another thing, that a very strong vested interest has developed around these boarding schools, because you have well-paid teachers, many of whom have paid very big bribes to get these jobs, and therefore they feel they are privileged to collect their salaries without doing anything in the schools. and there is nobody to question them. Then there is the contractor lobby. There is all these. Then there is a whole now an NGO lobby that is there, because a lot of the central funding is going to NGOs to run programs anywhere from art to special coaching for CET and NEET to whatever, etc., etc. These go into several crores. So there is a lot of vested interest developing around these schools. And sometimes I really feel that these kids are actually trafficked into these schools for the profits of others. And what is the quality of education that they're getting? What is the quality of care and nutrition that they are getting? Everything is very questionable.
I partially agree with you on some aspects of young children should stay with their parents and then later on be sent as boarders. But as I personally, because I don't live there, and like you have lived so closely in these areas, I don't have a deeper understanding. But in principle, I definitely would like to raise questions about DBT, for example. In many sectors, it hasn't helped, and it kind of just completely, the state pays a certain amount of money and sheds its own responsibility. There are systems in place that have been won through some sort of a struggle and the state's understanding of it being a welfare state in the 60s and 70s. And that is why these schemes came into existence. So while they have become perverse and problematic, they can't be abandoned. They need to be fought for unless and until you provide an alternative which is in the public domain. And DBT certainly can't be one of those alternatives. So we've seen that in provision of food to school children in many states, and it hasn't worked.
Children below 10 years, I think going to hostel is absolutely undesirable. Children should be with the parents, but we should have a neighborhood school accessible to the child, and so that the child is safe with the parents and in the school. So if you now they are closing number of schools in the villages. Now the policy talks of clustering of schools, and once you talk of cluster, the village will not have a school. It will be in the cluster. Cluster will be 20 villages or so. Then I think the child being with the parents is absolutely desirable, because after all, child is growing mentally and he feels safe in the company of the parents. But we should have a school so close to the neighborhood, so close that the child can walk to the school within 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You can't locate a school at a distance. That's why we should demand neighborhood school, so that every child has an access. The young child, particularly the below 10 years child, should have, so that from home to school, school to home, he does not find the distinction. I think that's very important. Why it should be a part of our policy, demand. It should be a demand. It should be, one of the points on the agenda of the education movement. I agree with that.
And in the national education policy, whatever small schools are there today, which were opened during the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan's phase and the early phase of right to education, are now going to be closed and amalgamated into school complexes. So these small schools, in fact, need to be protected so that children have access to early childhood education and education till class 5, from where they can then either go to residential schools, or the school is extended further if the population of villages is there is availability of that many children.
Why is there no advocacy for schools like the JNVs? I presume it's Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalayas, because they seem a good schooling system to provide quality education for children in rural India. And there is another question which is talking about that policy document mentions Indian knowledge. So how do they define this heterogeneous Indian knowledge?
Caste system and patriarchy. That is Indian knowledge.
In fact, in the All India Forum for Right to Education, we have been asking this question, that if we can give quality education in Navodaya school, why are you not able to give the quality education in the regular schools? That means government can give quality education. It's not that government cannot. It has been demonstrated beyond doubt that the Navodaya schools have done reasonably well. Central schools also have done reasonably well. So every school in India should be upgraded, elevated to the status of a Navodaya school. then government schools will survive. They will start getting the children, and the private schools will gradually disappear. But now it's the reverse trend. More of the children go to the private schools, and parents raise the loans to send their children to private schools. But Navodaya school is the best example that government can run if it wants. If it has a will, it can run good schools. And the demand, therefore, is that every school, government school, should be upgraded, elevated to the status of a Navodaya school.
About the RSS schools, very
Yes.
difficult to access, worse than accessing mobile for children. But TISTA has done some, I mean, some people have done micro studies, larger data. Larger data has been brought out by Communalism Combat some 10 years ago. But obviously, the new education policy encourages schools and also textbooks provided by NGOs, provided by private bodies and philanthropic institutions. So that onslaught is going to increase. There is going to be a separate course about Bharatiya Parampara in the NEP. So it's not going to be limited only to the cultural agenda, is not going to be limited only to RSS schools. It's overshadowing others.